I should have been home. That's what she thought anyway. If I hadn't spent months drowning in doubt and suspicion, maybe I would have been. Maybe I would have been sitting on the couch, oblivious, waiting for her to come back from her work dinner, greeted by that same charming smile she always wore when she was hiding something. But I wasn't home. I was standing at the back of an upscale restaurant, watching my wife celebrate her promotion with her boss. I shouldn't have been surprised. The late nights, the strange text messages, the growing distance between us, like she was somewhere else even when she was right next to me. I had felt it, an unsettling shift, a hollow echo in the spaces where our closeness used to be. But feeling it and seeing it, that was something else entirely. She laughed at something he said, tilting her head back, just like she used to with me. His hand lingered on the small of her back as he leaned in, whispering something into her ear. She didn't pull away. She didn't flinch. She didn't even seem to realize I was there, watching. That's when it hit me. She still thought I was the oblivious husband, the one who never asked too many questions, who never pushed too hard, the one she thought she could lie to. But she was wrong. As she raised her glass, smiling at him like he was the only person in the room, I stood up. The noise around me fell away, replaced by a deafening silence in my head. And then, with one sentence, I turned her celebration into her worst nightmare. But let's rewind. This didn't happen overnight. For months, I had felt something shifting between us. At first, I convinced myself it was stress. Work had been crazy for her. New projects, more responsibilities. She was just tired, distracted. That's what I told myself. But then there were the little things. She started dressing up more for work. New perfume, new lingerie. And before you assume I was just insecure, let me clarify. I wasn't bothered by her looking good. I was bothered by the effort. The sudden change. It was like she stopped caring what I thought. Then came the late nights. At first, they were rare. Maybe once or twice a month. Then they became routine. Always meetings. Always some urgent deadline keeping her out later and later. She was careful though. She kept things just enough the same. Still kissed me goodnight, still asked about my day, but it felt hollow. Like she was playing a role. So I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I noticed how she always kept her phone face down, how she suddenly had a password on it, how she'd step outside to take certain calls. Her voice softer, more intimate. I didn't confront her right away. Not because I was afraid, but because I needed to be sure. So I watched. That's how I ended up at the restaurant that night, sitting with my best friend, Mark. Not because I needed backup, but because I needed someone to keep me from doing something I'd regret. I sat there for a while just observing, watching the way she leaned into him. The way her fingers brushed his when she reached for her drink. The way she laughed. Genuine, effortless. The kind of laughter I hadn't heard from her in ages. And then, the final confirmation. The moment she placed her hand on his knee under the table. That was it. I didn't need any more proof. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Conversations paused. Heads turned. And I said it, loud enough for everyone at that table to hear. Congratulations, sweetheart. You must be so relieved I didn't find out sooner. She froze. The glass stopped halfway to her lips, and her face drained of color. Her boss, let's call him David, looked back and forth between us, confused, then wary. What are you doing here? She stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I stepped closer, my voice unervingly calm. Watching. Listening. Piecing together all those nights you came home late, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. She swallowed hard. It's not what it looks like. I laughed sharply. That's the best you've got. You're about to toast your promotion with the man you've been sleeping with for months. And I'm supposed to believe it's innocent. Silence. David shifted uncomfortably, looking anywhere but at me. And then I delivered the final blow. The words that shattered her entire facade. You think I haven't known? You think I haven't seen the messages, the calls, the way you look at him? Her hand gripped the table, knuckles white. Please, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Not here. Oh no, sweetheart. Here is perfect. I gestured around the room. You wanted to celebrate. Let's celebrate. Let's toast to your success, the kind that cost you your marriage. Mark placed a hand on my shoulder. A silent warning. I exhaled, gave her one last look, and walked away. She followed me outside. Wait. Please, she pleaded, her voice shaky, desperate. Let's talk. I turned to face her. You want to talk? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I made a mistake. I laughed bitterly. A mistake? Well, spilling coffee on your shirt is a mistake. Sleeping with your boss for months. That's a choice. She broke then, sobbing, begging, swearing it hadn't meant anything. That she still loved me. That we could fix this. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But the thing about trust is that once it's gone, it doesn't come back. You made your choice, I said, my voice steady now. Live with it. Then I got in my car and drove away. That was 6 months ago. The divorce is almost final. She tried to fight at first, tried to convince me to go to counseling to rebuild, but there was nothing left to rebuild. She lost her job too. Turns out the company doesn't take too kindly to affairs between employees and management. And David, he moved on to someone else, of course. And me. I'm okay. Took time, but I'm okay. There's something freeing about walking away from a lie, about choosing yourself over someone who never chose you. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. The truth has a way of finding you. You can ignore it. You can pretend it isn't there. But one day, it stands up in the middle of a crowded room and forces you to face it. And when that moment comes, there's no going back.